Hello everyone, I am Kimberly Adams. Welcome back to Make Me Smart, where we make today, and ideally the week, make a little bit more sense.
Ideally the week. I'm Kyle Ryssdal. Thanks for joining us on the podcast and on the YouTube live stream on this Friday, the 11th of April.
Oh my gosh, what a week. Yikes.
Can you believe it?
Yeah, so we are in our weekly happy hour episode. We call it Economics on Tap. For those of you who are new here, welcome. We're going to do some news. We're going to play a game, but first we are going to talk drinks. Kai, what you got?
I've gone to the old standby. The reason I was a little rushed getting in here, not that anybody other than you, me, and Juan Carlos knows that, is that I had to go to the grocery store, and the parking lot was stupidly crowded with a lot of not California's best drivers. But I did get myself my go-to Modern Times beer, Hazy Double IPA, and it's going to do me solid, which I think I deserve.
That was generous. Not California's best drivers, huh?
Let me just tell you, there were some profanities uttered in that parking lot. Let me just tell you.
By you or by others?
Oh, by me. By me.
I've had a lot of profanity this week. I was scrambling just for a variety of different reasons. I don't think I've done a show from here since like before my last vacation. So I was trying to find like all my gear and get everything set up. But anyway, one of my friends brought to my cherry blossom party this yuzu liqueur. So yuzu is like a citrus fruit that has been very popular of late. And it is a product of Japan, which means I should probably savor it before the tariffs make it too expensive to have.
It's already 10% more expensive, pal, you know.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just gonna drink it straight with some ice because I don't feel like doing much today.
You start drinking. I'll do a quick spin through the comments. So J. Allen Pipes, here in California, here on the West Coast, he says it's too early for a beer, but he's having sparkling water. It's going to be an old fashioned or maybe two later. Jim Sanders, Wilderness Trail single barrel bourbon. Amen, brother. Lee in Maryland, pre-tariff Côte du Rhône. Nice.
I've heard from so many people that they've been stocking up on wine.
Oh yeah, right? Totally.
Oh yeah. And Kay Gilbert says Luxardo, cherry liqueur, pink gin, green chartreuse, and fresh lime juice. Yes, and said thanks for the heads up on the Luxardo cherry liqueur. It's quite tasty.
Okay, wait. So sorry. What color is the cherry liqueur?
It's like a reddish brown, I think.
Okay, so we got cherry liqueur, pink gin, and green chartreuse. What color does that drink wind up being? This is a serious question.
Probably just brown.
Ew.
Like a brown. That pink gin is probably going to get washed out altogether.
Yeah.
And
red and green.
The green
brown.
Unless it layers, maybe. No, I don't
go,
think
but weigh in the comments. Let us know what's going on.
Yeah. Somebody, bless their hearts, brought as a hostess gift to my cherry blossom party a bottle of gin.
Nice. Artax.
That sounds like he's about to puke, actually.
Well, that would be something. We've had a fire drill with you. We've had, what else have we had? We've had Artax.
That's the I'm about to puke meow, and I don't want him puking on my bed. So,
well, that's totally fair. Beth Curtin Crane. Hello, Kimberly and Kai. First time here. Might go for the rhubarb gin and tonic later on. Go now, yo. Go now.
Welcome.
Why wait?
Yeah, go for it. So David Lemos. No, Ian Panzer says Artac reacting to the news. Yes.
Totally.
That's exactly what that is.
Oh my God.
All right. Look
says, do Portuguese ginger ha. It's red. That is a cherry liqueur, which I discovered when I was over there. Yes, let's do some news. You get to go first.
Oh, wait. What I was about to say is somebody brought to my cherry blossom party as a hostess gift a bottle of gin for me.
Oh, man. You gotta read the room, man. You gotta know your host.
And the best part was Noya, my editor, was there at the party, and she was just watching me control my facial expression. I'm like, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Let me just put this down over here.
Right? But it's such a pretty bottle, and so I actually am gonna try it because it's very pretty and it's got like all this. It's supposed to be like a special floral edition, so I am gonna try it. There will be a cocktail with that gin, and you guys will see me drink gin on this show, which may have never happened before. Can you mask
the flavor of gin somehow?
It's not the flavor that bothers me; it's the effects. It's the consequences.
Oh, see, for me, for tequila is my Achilles heel, and for me, it tastes like dirt. It's just blah.
Yeah, no, it's the consequences. Gin, I've had many delicious gin cocktails. My body just can't handle
Ah,
them, and I
very
I
interesting.
react very quickly to a gin cocktail. So
Oh,
it's
interesting.
just it's the
Fun at
devil.
parties, Kimberly Adams. All right,
Anyway,
what's the
the
news?
news. Why does yours say sell America?
I will tell you why.
After I go with my news. Okay,
After
fine.
you go first.
So,
Yes, yes.
all right. So my news is just there have been a couple of articles coming out talking about the end of cheap goods in
Hmm.
America and whether or not that is a good or a bad thing. Because one of the arguments that the Trump administration is making in order to sort of justify the inevitable economic pain that is coming to many Americans from these tariffs is like, yes, it's going to hurt for a while, but you know what? Just universal cheap goods are not necessarily a good thing. Like, should we have ever had $5 t-shirts? Do you really need to have a flat screen TV that only costs $50? And there is an argument to be made that, like, the cheap stuff that we've been enjoying comes at a cost to somebody. It may not be us, but it could be the people working in sweatshops in foreign countries. It could be the domestic manufacturers who lose their business because they can't compete and all these other things. And so there were a couple of other articles. One is in Vox. There's another one in Bloomberg. Like the Bloomberg one says, cheap consumer goods are the American dream, actually. And then in Vox, it's like the case for cheap goods. And one of the example, they said the Trump administration says cheap goods aren't part of the American dream. They're wrong in defense of cheap stuff. One of the examples is like a school teacher who's able to buy, items for their class on their
Hmm.
salary simply because they're cheap. And I think it's going to be very interesting how this debate plays out over our right to cheap stuff, which is effectively the right of poor people to enjoy the things that they are being conditioned and told by society are part of what you need to be happy, because we live in this capitalist consumerist society that's like, you need these things to be happy, but we're not going to pay you enough to afford these things in a way that someone could make a livable wage to make them. So here, have the cheap knockoff version and be happy. And now we're not even going to let you have that. That's all
Yeah.
I got.
Look, that's it's completely legit. It's really interesting because we have been conditioned to have by right, air quotes, cheap
Hmm.
goods. The other set of people who pays are and have been for the last 25 to 30 years the people in the United States whose jobs have moved overseas because of this desire for cheap goods, right? Because what happens
Hmm.
is companies realize they can make whatever the product is overseas cheaper, those companies and production move overseas, and then the people in the United States who used to make those things, whether it's, you know, heavy industrial products or, cheap consumer goods, those people are the ones in this country who have been really harmed the worst. And
Hmm.
that's given rise to populism and acting in what political analysts say is against their economic self-interest, all of those things. But it's part of the whole formula, I suppose, although that's too rational a word, for how we got here politically.
Hmm.
It's all connected. It's all of a piece.
And what will be interesting to watch in the coming months is that many of the sectors of society that have been the most harmed by the departure of manufacturing, by the loss of those jobs, by the undermining of American industry in recent decades, are now the people who rely on these cheap goods the
Right,
most,
right, right,
right?
right. Because they
And
have
so they're
because
going
they
to,
have to.
because they have to, and they're going to feel this pain the most. So what's going to be
Right.
stronger? The sense that you're finally on a path to getting, almost revenge on these countries that
Hmm.
stole your job a generation ago, or the pain that you feel in the moment from not being able to, get the new outfit that you wanted, or clothes for your kid's
Yep.
school, or to make that little get new curtains for your living room that could brighten your day just a little bit, that those sorts of things.
Yep. Totally. Completely agree. Completely agree.
So what do you mean about sell America?
Okay, so sell America. So let's think about what's happening. I'm going to do two things, two
Mm-hmm.
and a half things. I'm going to go to the bond market. I'm going to go to
Okay.
the foreign exchange markets, and then I'm going to go in between those two. I'm going to go to Germany. So the
Mm-hmm.
first thing I want to make sure people understand what happened on Tuesday night into Wednesday. So early in the week, the stock markets were terrible, right?
Yeah.
Then Tuesday night into Wednesday, if you were paying attention obsessively to the overnight markets and what was going on, as I was, you saw that the yield on the 10-year Treasury note was spiking unaccountably. The way the bond market works is that when prices go down, yields go up. So when more people want to when more people want to sell bonds, right, the price
Mm-hmm.
goes down, less demand, and yields go up. So with that as a preface, what we had on Tuesday night into Wednesday was that stocks were down. People were selling stocks. When that happens, usually what happens is that money goes into bonds. More people want to buy bonds and bond prices go up, and so yields go down. It's a whole complicated conversation as to why that happens in the bond market, why they're
Mm-hmm.
inversely related, but just take me at my word. Instead of that happening, what happened was that stock prices were going down and bond prices were going down too. People were selling bonds and selling stocks in a time of economic uncertainty, to be kind. So yields were going up. The thing that's weird about that is that when things are weird economically, when there is great uncertainty and upheaval, people go to safe haven assets. The safest asset in the world for now is the American debt market. And what usually happens in times of economic upheaval, even when the United States is the center of the economic upheaval, as in the financial crisis, what usually happens is that people want to buy bonds. They want to hold American treasuries because they are safe assets. You will be paid back, right? Full faith and credit.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen this time. People were selling stocks in American companies and they were selling American bonds. And so the yield was going up. And that's a really troubling thing. Now,
Have we ever
maybe,
seen that before?
uh, yes, but not in the speed with which this happened.
Mm.
This happened literally
Okay.
in like 3 hours overnight, Tuesday and Wednesday. If you were on the
Yeesh.
socials on Tuesday about like 8:30, 9 o'clock West Coast time, so midnight on the East Coast, there were people saying the 10 years going vertical. What the hell's going on? The yield was going vertical, as in straight up on the chart, from 4.2% to 4.65%, almost like 4.49, whatever the hell it was, right?
Massive
So
jump.
massive jump, massive jump. So people were selling American companies and they were selling American government debt, which does not happen in times of financial crisis. Usually people want American debt. So that is selling America part one. The
Can I
interstitial
pause
here,
you?
yes, ma'am.
Oh, I want to read this question before it goes by, and you can come to it whenever
Oh,
you
sure.
want to.
What?
Sanjin Lee asked in the chat, do we know if foreign governments are selling bonds in large quantities?
So look, the Chinese government, the largest holder of government American treasuries, has been selling for a very long time. The Japanese government now is, I believe, the largest holder. The Chinese have a scheduled sell-off, and that's not really material to this conversation. The Japanese are holders, and they continue to be holders. So it's not a foreign government thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
private equity, it's hedge funds, it's people who needed to be liquid, have a lot of cash, because stocks were plummeting and they needed
Mm-hmm.
to cover themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of buying treasuries, they sold treasuries and went somewhere else, which gets me to part 1A of Sell America. Where did they go? In part, German government bunds. BUNDS is what German government debt is called. German government debt is doing really, really well, as is, by the way, the German stock market,
Mm.
because for a lot of reasons, one of which is Europe, generally speaking, is going to be spending more on defense. They're going to invest in their industrial bases. Why? Because they can't depend on America anymore. And so a lot of the growth is going to come from Europe. So that's part one and part 1A of Sell America. Part two of Sell America, is the dollar. On January 20th, I don't know this off the top of my head, I just looked it up about 3 or 4 days ago. On January 20th, you could buy €1 for $1.04 American. Okay? $1.04. When I went to Portugal for spring break, what seems like for the bleep ever ago, but really was only a week ago, it was $1.08.5, right? You had to spend more American to get the same amount of euro, right? Yesterday, it was $1.14, 10 cents in 3 months. People make millions of dollars in the foreign currency markets on tenths of a penny of change.
That's
People
such
are
a
selling the
massive
dollar. People are selling the US dollar. Also, traditionally the safest of safe havens. Why are they selling the American dollar? 2 reasons. One is because of our tariffs, right? The trade barriers that Trump is putting up. And let's be clear, there was a pause, air quotes. And Artax is puking his guts out because of what I'm saying
He's
now.
not.
I'm
He
just
brought
kidding.
me a toy and he wants me to throw it. But go ahead.
But you know what I mean, right? So people are selling dollars for 2 reasons. One is because of our tariffs, they're not going to be doing as much trade with the United States, so they don't need dollars. They don't need to do dollar-based transactions, right? They don't need American dollars, so they're selling them. Screw it. We're going to buy euros, we're going to buy yen, we're going to buy Chinese yuan, right? Number 2 is America is a safe haven and we are not dependable anymore.
Yeah.
We are not dependable anymore. That's selling.
I mean, I just want to emphasize like the magnitude of what you just said, that people, countries, companies, investors don't believe in us anymore.
Yep.
And they're voting internationally with their dollars. But why does that matter for Americans, what everybody else in the world is doing when it comes? Like, I understand that the thing with the bond market and the yields going up, and that's a very big domestic issue. But does it actually matter if the rest of the world doesn't use our currency or our treasuries to, be the, currency or safe haven of last resort?
Is that a question?
Yeah, for you.
Oh, all right. So look, here's why. So let's be clear that the dollar being the reserve currency has come with some costs for us, right? Everybody has wanted until 10 days ago American dollars. That has made American exports more expensive, right? When you have a strong dollar, people have to pay more in the local currency to buy American dollars, to buy American products, right? So that's challenged our export sector, which is extremely real, and I totally get that. But along with American being number 1, the safe haven, and number 2, the dollar being the reserve currency, a lot of the soft power-ish stuff that the United States has enjoyed for the last, since World War II years, has come because of our international reputation, the strength of the dollar, and the fact that people want to be here to do business, buy and sell things, and invest in America. And if that is no longer the case, then cultural influence wanes, then our research and development base wanes, as we've seen, hello, American universities, right? And our domestic economy becomes more isolated. And look, I never did think that I would be quoting Xi Jinping on this podcast, and maybe it's actually the Chinese Ministry of Commerce, but it was Xi actually this morning, our time, who said, number 1, nobody has ever won a trade war, which is true. And number 2, you cannot isolate yourself from the global economy. President Trump will certainly try, but as we said on this podcast the other day, global trade is going to continue. We, however, are not going to be a part of it. And that
Another
will
thing
be to our detriment. Sorry, go ahead.
Another thing that's interesting about the currency falling in value, I mean, how many people heard these stories about, oh, the US dollar is really strong against the yen, and that's why everybody's
Hmm.
traveling to
Hmm.
Japan and going on vacation,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
pick fill in the blank country where the
Fill in the
US
blank.
dollar was strong against the currency. But now people don't even want to come to America
Right,
because there's
right.
all
You've
these
seen the
travel
travel
warnings
stats, right?
against us.
Exactly. Yes, totally.
There's travel warnings. There are people are worried about getting their I have a different toy now I'm supposed to throw.
That's right. It's all good. As long as it's not puke, I'm good, man. As long as it's not a
It's
hairball,
not
everything's
puke.
fine.
It's
All right.
another toy. There. There's travel bans. There's warnings. There's people just boycotting us, and so
Yep.
we're not even getting the knock-on benefits of our currency going down
Right.
because of
Right.
the politics.
Totally. So one more thing on this, and I'm going to go to the chat, and then we're done. From Aya Sanko, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. They say, Kai, please make a prediction starting with, by Christmas, the American economy, dot, dot, dot. Hang on. Sorry, beer burp. By Christmas, the American economy, dot, dot, dot. I'm not going to do that because we have 88 days left in this tariff pause, air quotes. And when the entire global economy is captive to the whims of a guy who changes his mind inexplicably, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, which is a whole other set of the challenges facing the American economy right now. So I not only don't I want to know what's going to happen by Christmas, I don't know what's going to happen by Tuesday.
And speaking of Christmas, I'm thinking about the fact that retailers make their
Yes, they're
purchasing
doing it now.
decisions for the
Yes.
holiday shopping season
Yes.
right now. Can you even
Yes.
imagine trying to figure out
Yep.
what
Forget it.
consumer demand is going to look like, what the
Mm-hmm.
cost of your goods are going to be? Like, it's
Forget it.
literally impossible. I think it's so fascinating, all of these companies that are just declining to issue guidance because they're just like, we can't.
Right.
Next week is
Right.
going to be really interesting because we have a bunch of earnings reports from like
Lots of earnings,
consumer
yeah.
goods companies, and seeing what they tell their investors about like how they're planning and what they're doing is going to be super interesting.
Totally.
All
Absolutely
right,
interesting and
we
somewhat
got to
horrifying.
keep
Yes.
moving.
Let us,
We've
shall
been
we?
going.
We're done. Drew's coming in a
Yes,
minute.
yes,
Here we
yes.
go.
All right, we are back. It is now time to play our game, Half Full, Half Empty, hosted by the wonderful and hopefully not so gloomy as us, Drew Drostad. Take it away, Drew.
Can't quite change the topic yet, but are you half full or
Oh, you
half empty
suck.
on the penguin memes?
Oh my God.
Hmm?
So we should tell people why this is happening. So on that list of just
Oh,
are you
right. I remember
bleeping
this.
kidding me tariffs was this island in the middle of somewhere that is inhabited only by penguins, and yet the Trump administration is tariffing it. Why? Because, and I think it was either Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce, or Besant, the Secretary of the Treasury, who said, well, we want to make sure people don't transship their goods through there. That is to say, take them to that island and then transfer them to the United States so that they would avoid tariffs. Penguins live on that island. Penguins, not people, penguins.
Can I tell you what's so funny to that about me? Sorry, not, yuzu liquor. What's so funny
there you
about
go.
that
You and
to
me both,
me,
sister. There we go. Told you I should have
the
brought 2 beers into
whole
this shed today, right?
the whole point of the original plan, or at least original idea of the Trump tariffs,
Plan in air quotes. Plan in air
plan
quotes.
in
Come
air
on, because
quotes,
there is no
were,
plan.
were that it was supposed to be across the board tariffs
know.
because remember, the administration learned its lesson the first time about only putting tariffs on one country versus another because then everybody just rerouted to other countries. Like we saw people moving their production from China to Vietnam and all that stuff. This is why they were supposed to be like across the board tariffs. And yet now we still have 145% tariffs on China and 10% tariffs on all these other countries. at least for now. So you still got the same issue. You didn't fix the original problem you said you were trying to
It's
fix.
just unhinged. It's seriously
I am
unhinged.
half full on the penguin memes, and generally,
Yes.
I feel like the meme game on this issue has been really strong.
Yes.
I have to give my shout out to like the Chinese propaganda machine and these AI generated videos of what they're saying, like, oh, Americans
Right?
want to do all the production. Have you seen these?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Where they're like
wild.
showing like their idea of what
Yep.
stereotypical Americans look like, which are, like morbidly
Yep.
obese and, making things on a factory line very, very slowly. It's, mean, but also quite
Right.
sharp.
Yeah.
So I'm half full on the
Sharp,
meme game.
shall we say. What Kimberly said. Drew, next.
All right, according to a new report, in the 2023 to 24 academic year, the number of certificates earned was up 11%, but bachelor's and associate's degrees down 1% each. Are you half full or half empty?
Wow. I'm not
I
familiar with
missed
that
this
story.
story,
That's so
but
interesting.
I'm seeing that the story was, I'm guessing, on Morning Report.
I
And
listen to morning 3
I'm
times a
gonna
day,
go,
yo. I didn't hear it. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I'm gonna go with half full, just
Yeah.
on general gut reaction,
Mm-hmm.
because not everybody needs a college degree to
That's exactly
do
right.
jobs that need to be done,
Yep.
jobs that pay very well and that are very fulfilling and can support a family or support, your shopping habits or whatever. And if we can move past this sort of classist stigma that everybody has
Mm-hmm.
to have a bachelor's degree to have a good career and a good life, I'm going to go half full. And so, yeah, it looks like, I'm just going to read here from Stephanie Hughes' story. According to a report out from the National Student Clearinghouse, the number of students earning a certificate went up, and this is because there's a growing demand for workers with vocational skills. And the jump in
Mm-hmm.
certificate is being driven by employers who want to be certain that the workers they're hiring have a specific skill set. Absolutely,
Yeah.
half full.
Yeah, half full too. I agree wholeheartedly with what everything. I would like to associate myself with Ms. Adams's remarks. How about that?
All right.
Senatorially speaking.
Are you half full or half empty on the return of the limited run Trader Joe's mini tote bags?
I did not know there was a limited run.
Do you know about
These
the
are
mini
hot
tote bags
items,
in
Sky.
general?
I don't know. What?
Okay,
No.
so what was it, like a year or so ago? There was like, we have these micro trends and they go viral online, and then it's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
somebody mentioned in the chat that RTAX almost has me trained, and it's like he seems
They're
to
not
have
wrong.
recognized
They're not
that if he makes
wrong.
noise while I'm talking into this microphone and brings a toy, I will throw it to make him shut up. And and so yes, it worked. Anyway, so the Trader Joe's mini tote bag trend went like super viral. They were selling out everywhere, and then people just like moved on. I am gonna go half empty because if anything that we're figuring out from this moment is we need just probably less stuff in general and less trendy stuff.
Yeah, I just think we need less stuff, full stop, trend or not. So I'm fine with the half empty. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Everyone is agreeing in the chat that the
Yeah,
animals
no,
train
totally.
us, we don't train them.
1000%. Willow's got me wrapped around her little paw, as it were, whatever.
Next
All
up is the
right, what's
audience
next?
poll.
All
All
right,
right,
everybody
poll.
in the chat, get
Pay
ready.
attention, people. All right.
So, Augusta National Golf Club, home of the Masters tournament,
Oh my
prohibits
God,
cell
yes.
phones and other electronic devices, but provides free public telephones. Are you half full or half empty on providing public phones to keep events smartphone free?
So is this apart from Augusta and all the challenges that it brings to right people, thinking people everywhere? Yes, right? This is just keeping things
What are you talking about, the
cell phone free,
racism?
right? Yeah, that I'm talking about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not asking specifically about Augusta.
All right, good.
It's
Yes.
the phone thing.
So generally, this is a question about being cell phone free at big events, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And
When I
whether or
first
not
started,
the young ones can learn to use a public telephone.
Oh, are
does
you
it have a
kidding me?
rotary dial
Not
on it?
zero chance. Zero chance.
Or
Are you
remember a
kidding?
phone number.
Right? No. Well, I mean, that's no lie, right? Look,
That's
I
a
love
good
my kids more
point
than
because
life
you'd have
itself,
to.
but exactly. I mean, you could get me, I would be, please, Kai, call somebody who can save you. And I'm like, I don't know, press number 3 on my phone. It's in the, what, you know? I'm like, what?
Man,
Yeah, totally.
unfortunately, like I have four phone numbers like
Oh,
baked
all
into
right.
my
So
memory.
wait. Hold on. You, of course, are the lady who's got a copper landline. Go ahead.
Two of those people are dead. One of them is from the house where I grew up. So only
That's
one of the
so
numbers that
interesting.
I actually have memorized is relevant to anything. Um, I mean, people are saying 911, sure, fine, that doesn't count.
No, that
But
doesn't count.
like,
It's got to be an actual phone number.
I probably need to do better than that. In terms, like
I
my
have
sister, I know, like
2.
gave her kids a little song that they use to remember her phone number in case there's ever an emergency. And so she put it to like a little like musicality to it. Um, but I definitely like, uh, this is interesting. Like, I
It's
do
really
like the
interesting. So,
idea of phone-free events.
which is really right because you look at the, like concerts and stuff, and you see people like holding up their phones, recording, and I'm like, just sit there and be in the moment.
Anyway,
I
yeah.
like you have 2 phone numbers from my childhood that I remember. My grandparents'
Mm-hmm.
house when I was a kid when we came back from Europe, and
Mm-hmm.
then when we finally moved out of my grandparents' house into the house I grew up in. That's it, right? But I could not tell you my oldest sons or daughters or whatever. I could tell you my wife's phone number, but that's about it, right? You know?
This is probably a good tip in the chat from Ramplo, who says they work with people with disabilities and always encourage them to keep a copy of important numbers in their wallet
Yeah,
in case their
yeah,
phone gets stolen. That's actually just a generally good idea because, like, your phone, I mean, your wallet may get stolen at the same time as your phone, but like one or the other, having them is that's probably a good idea. I should make a little card. When I was living in Egypt, we
totally.
definitely the journalists used to carry around little like cards of like that you could like if you got arrested or if
Mm-hmm.
something
Mm-hmm.
happened, like here's the people to call and stuff like that. And those are always useful. Anyway, we got the poll results.
There's so
Um,
much chat going on here. Wait, let me just throw one in here because I love this one. From
yeah.
flipping out in the chat. I could call my parents and my ex-husband.
Mm.
Okay.
Do you want to
Anyway,
though?
do you want to? Do you need to? Is that a thing you're gonna do? Anyway.
Oh wait, Brett Sharp says I grew up in Augusta and attended a formal as a
Oh.
13-year-old where you learn manners in ballroom dancing. So it doesn't matter what we
Hmm.
say, the national will stick to the old ways. Okay,
Oh my
fancy.
lord. All righty.
Okay, the poll results. We had 70% half full on using public phones to keep events
Mm-hmm.
cell phone
Mm-hmm.
free, half empty 29%.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
fair.
all the chit
That's
chat.
fair. Totally. There you go. Holy cow! It's like
All right, this is an
3 minutes past
extra
the hour
chunky
here.
show for y'all today.
Phew. We had some things to
And which
say.
is
That's all right.
appropriate given the week that we all had.
No
But that is it
joke.
for us today. We're going to be back on Monday. So in the meantime, please keep sending your questions, comments, or suggestions. And the questions in particular, because we know everybody's got a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them. And
So
even if
many.
we don't get to them on Make Me Smart, we can get to them on Marketplace Morning Report, your show, Kai, or somewhere else. We're going to do our best. So, 508 you be smart. You can leave us a voicemail or you can email us to makemesmart@marketplace.org.
My goodness. All right, we're done. Make Me Smart is produced by Courtney Bergseeker. Our intern is Ahamalek. Today's episode, was engineered by Juan Carlos Torrado.
You sure you didn't pregame it, Kai?
I didn't
The
pregame at
team
all. Had
behind
I
our
been thinking, I'd have brought 2 beers in here, but I did not, clearly, just one. It's empty now, but one.
The team behind our Friday game is Emily McCune, Jamila Huxtable, and Antoinette Brock. Marissa Cabrera is our senior producer. Bridget Bodner is the director of podcasts. And Francesca Levy is the executive director of digital and on demand. And now I'm going to go see if the cat puked somewhere.
Yeah, let's just
Or
look
he
for
was
that
just
little,
being
whatever,
obnoxious.
little pile of, hairball.